Movie review number 1472 is Orwell. 2 plus 2 equals 5. Orwell, 2 plus 2 equals 5 is a 2025 movie that is directed by Raoul Peck. Raoul Peck. Raoul Peck. This movie has neon films, anonymous content films, and cursor media. I saw this movie on October 12, 2025 at Esquire Theatre in Clifton, Ohio. So this is a documentary movie, and it details author George Orwell, who you probably known as the author of books like 1984 and Animal Farm. Well, this movie is a documentary movie. So, this movie has clips, readings from George Orwell's diary, semantic references, and modern day footage to craft not only a portrait of the writer, but a fresh take on how prophetic his work has become. So, the movie talks a lot about George Orwell's book 1984, where he features a authoritarian future. Well, the movie also has clips from modern day, including the past few years, like some of the protests, riots that have happened in the recent years. And the documentary explores how George Orwell's take on 1984 regarding this totalitarianism future has become prophetic a little bit today. And like I said, the movie has clips that you see from recent years, but the movie also takes place or kind of have scenes or clips from George Orwell's personal life when he wrote these books, but also how his interpretations of his work, like 1984, has an aspect on American society today. So this movie is about the life and career of George Orwell and how his political observations are still relevant in the present day, especially from the lessons that were in his book 1984. Now, I have never read 1984, but I have heard of it. I have read Animal Farm before, and I can definitely understand his take on authoritarian regarding Animal Farm. 1984 I've heard a little bit about, but never read the book. But it does feature topics of totalitarianism in an authoritarian future. Well, the movie kind of has a back and forth contrast back when George Orwell wrote this book, 1984, and how relevant it is in present day today. And like I said, it features clips from the last few years that you may have heard about. And I will say, some of Orwell's topics that he wrote about in 1984, let's just say some of those might be seen in today's society, as far as if you look closely enough, Orwell may not have been too far off regarding some of the themes that he said or wrote about in his book 1984. And that's really scary. I would like to point out that the movie is subtitled 2 plus 2 equals 5. Obviously, we all know that 2 plus 2 equals 4. But the person that and how the conversation kind of went about was a man talking to a child about what 2 plus 2 equals, and the kid answers 4. And then the adult explains why some people think 2 plus 2 equals 5. This reminds me of a Very Odd Parents episode when Timmy Turner, who is one of the main characters, said 2 plus 2 equals 5, and Mr. Crocker said it was wrong, and then Stephen Hawking came up and said 2 plus 2 does equal 5. And then at the end of the episode, there was a spoof or a funny joke about 2 plus 2 not equal 5, but equaling 6. Huh. But anyway, that's why the movie is subtitled 2 plus 2 equals 5, because of the conversation that this adult had with this child. And after seeing this movie, I understand a little bit why some people might think 2 plus 2 does equal 5. Even though mathematically it does equal 4. But yeah, this is a pretty good movie, guys. I definitely recommend it. It definitely features topics from past and present. On how George Orwell came up with the idea of 1984, while how his topics are still relevant in today's society. And you'll see in this documentary how this is explored. Wow. So that's my movie review of Orwell, 2 plus 2 equals 5. Please enjoy from this movie review. Alright, goodbye.